What happens when Austin Butler walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a lighthearted conversation, only for tensions to quietly build after a sharp exchange with Joy Behar? What starts as casual banter slowly turns into one of those uncomfortable live TV moments where smiles fade, interruptions pile up, and the audience can feel the shift in energy before anyone says it out loud. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The applause rolled through the studio as Austin stepped onto the stage, smiling, relaxed, dressed casually but polished in that effortless way viewers had come to recognize. He waved toward the audience, shook hands with the hosts, exchanged a quick greeting, and settled into his seat. The energy felt easy at first. The crowd clearly liked him. A few cheers stretched longer than usual, and one person near the front called his name loudly enough to make the panel laugh. Joy leaned forward with a grin. "Well, look at this," she said. "You walk out here and suddenly everybody forgets we exist." The audience laughed. Austin smiled politely, slightly embarrassed. "That's definitely not true." "Oh, come on," Joy said, waving her hand. "You know people love you." Another host jumped in with a laugh. "Especially after all those intense roles." Austin nodded. "It's been a pretty wild couple of years." The conversation began where most daytime appearances do: films, schedules, public attention, exhaustion. Austin spoke calmly, measured, thoughtful with his words. "It's strange sometimes," he admitted. "You spend months becoming someone else for work. Then suddenly everybody wants to know who you are personally." Joy tilted her head. "But isn't that the deal?" A tiny pause. Austin gave a small smile. "I mean, kind of, but I think there's still a balance." "What balance?" Joy asked quickly. The audience quieted just enough to notice. "You're famous," she continued. "People want answers. They feel connected to you." Austin nodded carefully. "Sure, and I appreciate that," he said. "I really do. But there are parts of life that you try to keep normal." Joy crossed her arms playfully. "You mean secret?" Some audience laughter. Austin laughed politely too, but there was hesitation in it. "No," he said. "Not secret. Private." One of the co-hosts jumped in gently. "There's a difference." "Is there?" Joy said immediately, smiling but pushing. "Because celebrities always say privacy until they're promoting something." A few audience reactions landed somewhere between laughter and discomfort. Austin shifted slightly in his chair. "You know," he said carefully, "I think there's probably truth in what you're saying sometimes." The audience murmured. But, Austin continued, "I think people are human too. Fame doesn't erase boundaries." Joy raised an eyebrow. "Oh, boundaries." The tone still sounded playful, but there was something firmer underneath it now. "I'm curious," Joy said. "You become this huge star. Everybody talks about you. People buy tickets because they feel invested in you. But suddenly they're not allowed to ask questions." Austin stayed composed. "No, that's not what I said." "I'm asking," Joy replied quickly. The audience chuckled nervously. Austin leaned back slightly. "I think there's a difference between curiosity and entitlement." That got a reaction. Some applause. Some "oh" sounds. Joy smiled tightly. "Well," another host laughed awkwardly. "Okay, now we're getting somewhere." Austin looked surprised by the audience response. "No, I don't mean that harshly," he added. "I just think people deserve space." Joy leaned in again. "But fans make careers." "They absolutely do." "So don't they deserve honesty?" Austin paused. "They deserve respect." The audience clapped again. Joy gave a look toward the crowd. "Oh, they're on your side already." Laughter spread, but tension flickered around the edges. Austin smiled politely. "I'm not trying to debate anybody." "Oh no," Joy said quickly. "You're on a talk show. Debate happens." Another host jumped in to soften the energy. "You've talked before about pressure, though," she said. "Especially with public expectations." Austin visibly relaxed for a second. "Yeah," he said. "I think expectations can get overwhelming." "How?" Joy interrupted almost immediately. "You're successful, handsome, rich." The audience laughed loudly. "What pressure?" Austin laughed too, though briefly. "I get why people say that." "So answer it," Joy said. There was an edge now. Still conversational, still daytime television, but sharper. Austin adjusted in his seat again. "I think pressure comes from trying not to disappoint people." "Fans?" Joy asked. "Fans. Family. Yourself." He paused. "And honestly, the internet." Big audience laughter. "That," one co-host said, pointing, "is true." Austin smiled more naturally. Everybody's got opinions. Joy jumped in again. Well, if you don't want opinions, don't be famous. A few audience laughs came slower this time. Austin's expression shifted. Not dramatically, but enough to notice. I don't think that's fair, he said. The room quieted. Joy blinked. No, no. Austin sat straighter now. You can appreciate support and still struggle with criticism. Joy shrugged. Criticism comes with a paycheck. The audience reacted again, some applause, some murmurs. Austin took a breath before responding. Sure, he said carefully. But there's a difference between criticism of work and constant personal judgment. One host nodded. That's true. Joy turned toward her. Is it? Yes, the host replied. People cross lines online. Austin nodded quietly. You stop feeling like a person after a while. The audience went silent for a beat. That landed. Joy looked at him, studying him for a second. So you're saying celebrity culture is toxic? Austin smiled faintly. I'm saying it's complicated. Well, that sounds diplomatic, Joy said. Audience laughter. Austin smiled again, but smaller this time. I'm trying. Joy leaned forward, elbows on the table now. Can I ask something honestly? Austin nodded. Sure. You always seem very controlled. The audience quieted again. Like, Joy gestured vaguely. Very careful. Very polished. One of the co-hosts gave a little look. Joy continued. Do we ever get the real you? There was a noticeable pause. Austin's smile faded for a second. I think this is the real me. But filtered. Joy asked immediately. A few audience members laughed nervously. Austin tilted his head slightly. I think everybody filters themselves on television. Applause. That line hit. Joy smiled. Touché. Even Austin laughed at that. For a second, things relaxed again. One host shifted topics. You've spoken about intense preparation for roles. Austin visibly welcomed the pivot. Yeah, he said. Sometimes it gets extreme. How extreme? Another host asked. You disappear into it a bit. Joy interrupted. Maybe too much? Austin turned toward her. What do you mean? Well, Joy said, smiling. People say actors take themselves very seriously. Laughter. Austin smiled politely again. We probably do sometimes. But is it real struggle? Joy added. Or expensive struggle? The audience reacted louder now. Oh! Another host laughed nervously and leaned back. Austin chuckled once, though the smile didn't fully reach his eyes. I don't know, he said. Struggle isn't really a competition. Joy shrugged again. I'm just asking because sometimes Hollywood people sound disconnected. Austin nodded slowly. That criticism can be fair. Joy looked surprised. Oh, yeah, Austin replied. Sometimes people live inside bubbles. Audience applause. But, he continued, that doesn't mean personal challenges stop existing. Joy tilted her head again. So you think people misunderstand celebrities? I think people misunderstand everybody. The audience clapped again. One host laughed softly. That's a good answer. Joy leaned back, arms crossed, giving a little smile that looked equal parts amused and unconvinced. You really don't lose your cool, do you? Austin laughed quietly. I'm trying not to. The audience laughed too. Joy pointed playfully. See, that sounds rehearsed. Austin paused, then smiled. No, he said. Just practiced. The audience burst into laughter and applause as the camera would have easily caught Joy raising her eyebrows, looking momentarily surprised before smirking back. And for the first time in the conversation, the tension didn't disappear. It settled in. The audience applause lingered for a second longer than usual, and Austin sat back in his chair with a restrained smile, glancing briefly toward the crowd before back to the panel. The energy had changed in a way daytime television audiences instantly recognize. Not explosive, not dramatic, just sharper around the edges. One of the hosts laughed softly, trying to smooth the moment over. You two are giving us a lot this morning. The audience laughed. Joy smiled. I'm just talking. Austin nodded once. So am I. That got another quick audience reaction. Not loud. Just enough. Joy turned slightly toward him. See, now I'm curious, she said. Because you say you're not trying to debate, but every answer sounds like you've already thought about the argument. Austin laughed quietly. I think I just think too much. Oh, definitely an actor answer, Joy replied. Laughter again. Austin shook his head. No, honestly. I think when your job involves constantly being analyzed, you probably become more careful. Joy tilted her head. Careful or guarded? There was another pause. One of the co-hosts visibly shifted in her chair. Austin looked thoughtful before answering. Maybe both. The audience quieted. I think there's pressure to not say the wrong thing, he continued. Especially now. Because people get offended? Joy asked quickly. Because everything becomes permanent, Austin replied. The audience murmured. You can say one sentence, he added, and suddenly it becomes who people think you are. Joy leaned in. But isn't that accountability? Austin nodded immediately. Sometimes absolutely. Sometimes, Joy repeated. He smiled slightly. I knew that word was coming back. The audience laughed. Joy laughed too. Well, answer it. Austin crossed one leg over the other, taking a second. I think accountability matters, he said. But I also think people deserve room to be imperfect. One host jumped in. That's true for everybody. Joy nodded slowly. Okay, but celebrities get a lot of grace already. Austin looked over. Do they? The audience reacted again. Joy laughed. Oh, come on. No, seriously, Austin said, still calm. I think people see success and assume life gets easier. It gets easier financially, Joy said. Audience applause. Austin nodded. Sure. And privilege matters, Joy continued. Of course it does. There was a brief beat. Joy looked mildly surprised. You agree with me? Austin smiled. Sometimes. Audience laughter. You keep waiting for a fight, one co-host joked. Joy pointed. Because he keeps sounding like he's about to politely disagree. Austin laughed again. That's fair. The audience settled as another host shifted the conversation. You've talked before about disappearing into roles, she said. Does it affect relationships? Friends? Family? Austin exhaled lightly. Yeah, sometimes. The room softened. You get very focused, he said. You isolate a little. Joy interrupted. Actors love saying that. The audience laughed awkwardly. No, really, Joy continued. You disappear into a role, method this transformation that. Austin smiled patiently. You don't buy it. I buy some of it. She shrugged. But sometimes it sounds dramatic. Austin nodded slowly. I get why it can. Then he paused. But I think every job has pressure people outside of it don't fully understand. A host immediately nodded. That's true. Joy crossed her arms again. I worked in education for years before television, she said. That was pressure. Austin pointed lightly toward her. Exactly. Joy stopped for a second. What do you mean exactly? I mean, Austin said, people probably underestimated what your work felt like. The audience murmured approvingly. Joy leaned back slightly. Austin continued. And I think that happens everywhere. Teachers, nurses, parents, artists, anybody. Audience applause. That's a smart answer, one host said. Joy narrowed her eyes playfully. You really came prepared. Austin laughed. No, I just don't think struggle has to compete. That line landed harder than expected. Applause again. Joy glanced toward the crowd. You all are very into him. Audience laughter. Someone clapped loudly near the front. Austin shook his head, embarrassed. You're making this worse for me. Oh no, Joy replied immediately. This is live television. Another host stepped in. Okay, I want to talk fame for a second because I'm genuinely curious. What's the weirdest thing about being recognized? Austin finally relaxed a little. That strangers know details about your life you forgot you said. Big audience laughter. That's terrifying, a host said. No, really, Austin continued, smiling more naturally now. Someone will walk up and go, how's your dog? And you're standing there wondering how they know you have a dog. Joy jumped in again. See, but that comes with fame. Austin smiled. Yes. So why complain? The audience shifted again. You could almost hear the energy tighten. Austin blinked once. I'm not complaining. You're describing pressure. Yeah. So, Austin gave a tiny smile, patient but firmer now. Describing something isn't complaining. The audience reacted with a louder, ooh. One host immediately laughed nervously. Okay. Joy smiled tightly. Well, excuse me. Austin laughed once. No, I'm serious. He leaned slightly forward. I think sometimes we treat emotions like people are ungrateful for having them. That made the room quieter. You can appreciate your life, he continued, and still struggle with parts of it. Audience applause. One co-host nodded emphatically. That is true. Joy tapped the desk lightly. But celebrities sometimes sound disconnected. Austin looked toward her. Sometimes they are. The audience laughed in surprise. Joy raised an eyebrow. Interesting. But, Austin added quickly. Sometimes people project onto celebrities too. Joy tilted her head. What do you mean? I mean, Austin said, choosing words carefully. People see someone successful and assume nothing hurts them. A pause. And that becomes permission to dismiss anything they say. The audience grew quiet. One host looked between them. That's actually a really interesting point. Joy didn't back off. Okay, but regular people are struggling with bills. Austin nodded immediately. I know. And inflation. I know. And jobs. I know. Joy leaned in again. So if somebody hears an actor talking about pressure. Austin interrupted, calm but for the first time noticeably firmer. I don't think pain has categories. The audience erupted. A mix of applause and surprised reactions. Joy blinked. Austin looked almost surprised at himself for cutting in. He smiled quickly. Sorry. Joy stared at him for a second. No, go ahead. The room got quieter. Austin exhaled. I just mean everybody's carrying something. His tone lowered. You don't have to compare suffering to care about people. A long beat. Even Joy didn't jump in immediately. The audience applauded again, softer this time. One host leaned forward. That feels personal. Austin hesitated. A little. Joy studied him. You've gotten angry before? Austin laughed under his breath. Oh, definitely. Audience laughter. Really? Joy said. Because you seem very calm. I'm not always. So what happens? Austin smiled. I usually walk away. Joy laughed. You walk away? Yeah. You don't yell. Not really. The audience laughed. Joy looked unconvinced. Come on. Austin smiled. No, seriously. Another host jumped in. Actually, that sounds healthy. Joy waved her hand. No, sometimes people need to say what they mean. Austin nodded. Sure. But you sound like you avoid conflict. There it was again. That subtle push. Austin's expression changed just enough to notice. I don't avoid conflict. Joy leaned forward immediately. Oh, I avoid pointless conflict. The audience exploded again. Laughter. Applause. One host literally leaned back in her chair. Okay. Joy smiled, but this time there was a tiny edge to it. So this is pointful conflict? Austin laughed, though more tightly than before. I didn't say that. You implied it. No, Austin replied, still controlled. I think we're having a conversation. Joy looked at him for a second. A tense conversation. The audience laughed nervously. Austin paused, then smiled. I think you like tense conversations. The audience burst out laughing. Even the hosts reacted. Joy laughed despite herself. Well, maybe. But for the first time, Austin's smile faded faster than before, and he glanced briefly toward the audience as if recalibrating. The room could feel it now, polite smiles still there, jokes still landing, but the conversation had started pressing into something more personal, more uncomfortable, the kind of live TV tension nobody fully plans for, and everybody notices. The audience laughter slowly settled, but the energy in the studio stayed unusually alert, the kind where even small pauses suddenly felt louder. Austin adjusted slightly in his chair, resting one hand against the armrest, while Joy gave a quick smile toward the crowd like she knew everyone had picked up on the shift. One of the co-hosts jumped in with a lighter tone. Okay, before this turns into daytime pay-per-view, she joked, earning laughter. I want to know something fun. Austin, what surprises people about you? Austin smiled, clearly welcoming the redirect. That I'm actually pretty boring. Big audience laughter. No, Joy said immediately, pointing. I don't believe handsome famous people when they say they're boring. The audience laughed again. Austin shrugged. I read a lot. I stay home. I cook. You cook? Another host asked. A little. Joy leaned forward again. Wait, define cook. The audience laughed. Like real cooking? Joy asked. Or celebrity cooking where somebody hands you expensive ingredients and you stir something once? Austin laughed harder than before. No, real cooking. You're telling me you grocery shop? Yes. You wait in line? Yes. The audience laughed. Joy gave him a skeptical look. Nobody bothers you? They definitely do. And you like that? Austin paused. Sometimes. Joy caught it instantly. Sometimes. There it was again. Austin smiled lightly. Yeah. So what does that mean? Joy pressed. You like attention when it works for you? The room shifted again. A couple audience members laughed uncertainly. One host looked down briefly, almost anticipating where this might go. Austin sat still for a second before answering. No. Joy tilted her head. Then explain. Austin nodded once. I think there's a difference between appreciation and losing normalcy. Joy interrupted quickly. But fame is literally abnormal. True. So why keep trying to act normal? The audience reacted softly. Austin took a breath. I don't think wanting ordinary moments is pretending. A beat. I think it's human. Applause spread across the audience. Joy smiled, though this time it looked more curious than amused. You always answer like that, she said. Like what? Measured. Austin laughed quietly. I think before I speak. Joy smirked. Sometimes too much. The audience laughed. Austin smiled, but there was a tiredness in it now. Maybe. One co-host stepped in carefully. Do you ever feel misunderstood? Austin paused longer this time. Yeah. The room softened. He looked down briefly before continuing. I think people see headlines or interviews and build a version of who they think you are. Joy nodded once. But doesn't everybody deal with that? Absolutely. Then what makes celebrity different? Austin looked toward her. The scale. Silence for a second. You mess up privately, he continued. Millions of people don't discuss it. Joy crossed her arms. But that comes with the job. Austin nodded. I know. You keep saying that. He smiled faintly. Because I understand the argument. Joy leaned in. But, Austin exhaled quietly. But understanding something doesn't automatically make it easy. Audience applause. A few people nodded visibly. One host jumped in. I actually think people forget public scrutiny changes people. Joy turned toward her. Or toughens people. Sometimes both, the host replied. Austin nodded slightly. Yeah. Joy looked back at him. Have you ever snapped? The audience perked up instantly. Austin laughed once. Snapped. Lost your cool. Oh. He smiled awkwardly. Sure. Audience murmurs. Joy raised her eyebrows. Really? Austin nodded. I'm human. So what happened? Austin hesitated. The audience grew quieter. You don't have to answer, one host added quickly. No, it's okay, Austin said. He leaned back slightly. I think exhaustion gets you. Joy jumped in. At people? Sometimes. So you yell. Austin laughed. You really want yelling. Audience laughter. Well, we're on TV, Joy replied. Austin smiled, then looked thoughtful. No. Usually it's frustration. With what? He paused. Expectations. Joy leaned closer. Whose? Everyone waited. Austin rubbed his hands together briefly. Everybody's. The room quieted again. People expect perfection, he continued. Or consistency. Joy shrugged. You should be consistent. To a point. What point? Austin looked over calmly. The point where people stop allowing growth. Audience murmurs. One co-host nodded. That's fair. Joy frowned slightly. Growth or excuses? A louder reaction came from the audience this time. Austin blinked once. No, he said carefully. Growth. Joy held eye contact. You know why I ask? Why? Because public figures sometimes hide behind that word. Austin sat straighter. How? They say, I'm growing, after bad behavior. The audience murmured agreement. Austin nodded slowly. That's true. Joy looked almost surprised again. You agree? Of course. He paused. But sometimes people weaponize mistakes forever too. The audience clapped. Joy immediately leaned forward. Depends on the mistake. Absolutely. The pace of the conversation had changed now. Less playful. More clipped. Austin continued carefully. I'm not talking about serious harm. Then what are you talking about? Being human. The audience stayed quiet. Saying something awkward, Austin said. Having a bad day. Being impatient. Joy crossed her arms again. You think celebrities get judged too hard. Austin exhaled. I think everybody judges everybody too hard. That got quieter applause. One host smiled. That feels true. Joy tilted her head. But you still haven't answered something. Austin looked over. What? You seem annoyed. The audience reacted immediately. Austin laughed under his breath. Annoyed? Yes. The room went still. Joy smiled, but there was challenge in it now. You keep doing this polite thing. Austin rubbed the side of his jaw briefly. I'm listening. No, Joy said. You're tolerating. Several audience members audibly reacted. One host looked between them quickly. Oh boy. Austin laughed once, shorter than before. That's interesting. So I'm wrong. Austin paused. Long enough for people to notice. No, he said finally. The audience murmured louder. Joy leaned back slightly, eyebrows raised. Oh, Austin nodded once. I mean, yeah. The room got very quiet. I'm trying to be respectful, he said carefully. Joy folded her hands. But, Austin glanced briefly toward the audience before looking back. But I do think sometimes questions stop being curiosity. Silence. And become assumptions. The audience let out a collective, oh. Joy looked directly at him. You think I'm assuming things? Austin hesitated. I think. He stopped himself. One host jumped in nervously. Okay. Commercial break energy. The audience laughed. But Joy kept looking at him. No, she said. Finish. Austin shifted in his chair. The polite smile was mostly gone now. I think sometimes, he said slowly, you decide what somebody means before they say it. The audience erupted. Half applause, half shock. One host covered her mouth laughing. Another leaned back whispering, oh wow. Joy stared at him for a second, then laughed once. Okay, but the laugh didn't fully land. So now I'm unfair. No, Austin said quickly. I didn't say unfair. You implied it. Audience reaction again. Austin exhaled. For the first time all conversation, he looked genuinely frustrated. No, he said firmer now. That's kind of what I mean. The room went silent. Even the audience stopped moving. Austin shook his head lightly, trying to stay composed. I'll say one thing, he continued, voice calm but tighter. And then suddenly I'm saying 5 other things. Joy sat back. So now you're frustrated. A pause. Austin looked at her. Yeah, he admitted. The audience reacted instantly. Soft gasps. Murmurs. Not explosive. Just surprised. He gave a small laugh, almost trying to release the tension. See? Human. Some audience laughter followed, nervous but genuine. Joy looked at him for a second, expression harder to read now. And suddenly the conversation no longer felt like teasing or daytime banter. It felt personal. Live. Uncomfortable in a way nobody in the room could ignore. The room held that strange live TV silence that only lasts a few seconds, but somehow feels much longer. Austin sat back after admitting it. Yeah, still composed, but visibly more tired than polished now. The nervous laughter faded around the studio. Even the audience seemed unsure whether to clap, stay quiet, or wait for somebody to reset the energy. Joy looked at him for another second. Well, she said, her voice lighter but measured now. At least we finally got something emotional. A few people laughed carefully. Austin gave a short smile. I was emotional before. Audience laughter, softer this time. No, Joy replied quickly. You were diplomatic. Another host jumped in with a grin that looked halfway relieved. Can we acknowledge something? This may be the calmest tense conversation we've ever had. That finally broke the pressure. The audience laughed louder. Even Austin smiled again, shaking his head. Joy leaned back in her chair. Okay, she said, exhaling. Maybe I pushed. The audience reacted immediately. A few surprised sounds. Austin blinked. One of the hosts whispered dramatically, growth, earning louder laughter. Joy pointed across the table. Don't start. Austin laughed quietly. No, honestly, Joy continued, looking toward him again. I ask hard questions. That's my job. Austin nodded. I know, but I also think people watching want honesty. Fair, Austin said. Joy folded her hands together. And I'll be honest with you. Sometimes actors come on shows and sound rehearsed. The audience murmured. Austin nodded once. That criticism makes sense. Joy looked genuinely curious, now rather than confrontational. So why do you think you came off frustrated? Austin paused. Not defensive. Just thoughtful. I think because sometimes, he said carefully, you feel like you're answering one thing while defending yourself against 5 interpretations. The room stayed quiet. And that's exhausting? Another host asked. Sometimes. Austin smiled faintly. But I also get it. Joy tilted her head. What do you get? The pressure of live television. That landed. The audience reacted warmly. Austin gestured lightly toward the panel. You all are talking in real time. Millions of people watching. You have opinions. You react. Joy gave a small laugh. We definitely react. Audience laughter. I'm sure some days, Austin continued, you walk off stage thinking, I wish I'd phrased that differently. A couple hosts nodded immediately. All the time, one said. Joy looked at him for a moment. Okay, she admitted, that's fair. The audience applauded. Something noticeably shifted. Not friendliness exactly, more understanding. Joy leaned forward again, though calmer now. So let me ask one thing differently. Austin nodded. When people think they know you, what bothers you most? Austin took a second. That they think confidence means you're unaffected. The room quieted. He smiled, smaller this time. I think people mistake calm for not feeling anything. No interruptions. No quick jokes. Just silence. That's interesting, one host said quietly. Austin shrugged lightly. I'm awkward. I overthink. I get irritated. I care too much what people think sometimes. Audience laughter mixed with applause. Joy smirked. Okay, now you sound human. Austin laughed. Thank you, I think. The audience laughed harder. Joy shook her head. No, seriously. Her tone softened. I think maybe I was poking because you seemed impossible to read. Austin nodded slowly. That's fair. And you got annoyed. Austin smiled. Yeah, you really don't yell? Audience laughter again. No. Not even backstage? No. Joy narrowed her eyes playfully. I still don't buy it. Austin laughed harder than he had all segment. Okay, maybe internally. That got one of the biggest laughs of the morning. A co-host leaned forward. Honestly, this is why live TV is interesting. Nobody scripts these moments. Audience applause followed. Joy nodded toward Austin. You held your own. Austin raised an eyebrow jokingly. Is that approval? Temporary approval, Joy shot back. Laughter rolled again. The tension had softened, but traces of it still lingered. Not hostility, more like mutual acknowledgement after a difficult exchange. One host glanced toward the camera. We're almost out of time. Audience groans. Oh, now they care, Joy joked. Austin smiled. They've been nice to me. They definitely picked sides, Joy replied. The audience laughed loudly, a few clapping again. Austin shook his head. Please don't make this worse. You think social media isn't already typing? Joy asked. Big laughter. Oh no, Austin said dramatically. Another host chimed in immediately. Too late. The audience applauded as the segment wrapped, cameras pulling wider while everyone exchanged smaller off-mic comments and smiles that viewers could only partly read. When the show cut to commercial, the audience buzz reportedly continued through the studio. Some people clapped for Austin as he stood. Others laughed about how unexpectedly tense the conversation had become. A few audience members appeared divided. Some feeling Joy asked fair questions, others feeling she pushed too hard. Backstage, the mood felt noticeably calmer. Austin reportedly stopped to thank crew members, shook hands, and spoke briefly with the panel before leaving set. Whatever tension existed on camera seemed less dramatic once the lights softened and microphones came off. Online, reactions moved fast. Clips spread across social platforms within hours, with viewers debating who handled the moment better. Some defended Joy Behar, arguing tough interviews are part of daytime television and that hard questions make conversations more interesting. Others praised Austin Butler for staying calm under pressure, especially during moments where the exchange started feeling more personal than promotional. Comments imagined viewers writing flooded timelines. Why did this feel way more tense than anybody expected? Austin stayed calm, but you could absolutely see the frustration. Joy pushed hard, but honestly the conversation got real because of it. That was awkward, but weirdly respectful. Live TV is messy, and that's why I watched the whole thing. Entertainment accounts replayed the quiet pauses, the interruptions, the moment Austin admitted he was frustrated, and the exchange where he pushed back with, "That's kind of what I mean," which quickly became the clip viewers debated the most. And maybe that became the biggest takeaway of the whole segment. Not some explosive shouting match, not a dramatic walk-off, not a viral scandal, but something messier and more believable. Two people disagreeing in real time, testing patience, misunderstanding each other at moments, then finding enough respect to finish the conversation. Because sometimes on live daytime television, the moments audiences remember most are the ones that feel uncomfortable precisely because they feel real. So what do you think? Did Joy push too hard, or did Austin overreact? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.